I must state for the record, I'm not an academic, I'm not a scholar, I'm just a youth and community engagement consultant. This presentation I'm doing now was inspired by my daughter. My daughter, my wife, is of Nigerian heritage. I am of Jamaican heritage. Wow, so that alone is a headache. That's just like saying Bengali and Pakistan getting married. For those that don't understand, okay? Right. Now my daughter, I raised her to be, to speak her mind with me. Some things she might say I might not like, but I tell her to always tell me what she thinks. My daughter came home one day and she complained to me that when she's with her African and Afro Caribbean friends, they say to her, "Why are you a Muslim? Muslims are all Asian." And then when she's with her Asian Muslim friends, they say, "Are you sure you're Muslim? Because you're black." So my daughter got fed up with this. Thank you for tuning in nicely. And she just said to me, "Dad, what's this? This is silly." And I said, "Okay." I had to put on my dad's hat on, then take it off, then I had to put on my youth work hat on. And I had to juggle it. And we went, so I thought to myself, let me do a presentation, because I like to read. One of my hobbies, besides eating, of course, is to read. I like to read books on African history. One of my favorite authors is a man called Dr. Ivan van Sertima. And now what I thought I'll do is compile information on black Muslim queens of Islam, because this presentation was originally for my daughter. Later on, a few months later, it was Black History Month. And my daughter and other African Muslims who go to the same school as my daughter were complaining that in Black History Month, there wasn't no recognition of black Muslims. So we were able to do this presentation together, my daughter and I, in her school. So this one's called the Black African and African Caribbean Queens of Islam, okay? The first lady I'm going to go into is a sister called Halima. She was the wet nurse of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, okay? As we all know, or some people might not know, that Arabs had a tradition of when the baby was born, soon after the baby was born, the baby would be taken to the desert where they'd be looked after by a wet nurse. Halima, may Allah be pleased with her, was an Ethiopian woman who was a wet nurse. And in Islamic traditions, in the Hadith, there's been many traditions that state when Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was in adulthood and used to see her, he used to show respect to her as if she was his mother, okay? Ayman, she was the midwife of Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, and she was of East African heritage as well. And she was classed, some scholars have called her the foster mother of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, Sumayyah, we hear that because of current politics, how we phrase it, because I don't want to get arrested, we call it the first Islamophobic death, okay? I won't say what people normally say. I'm not telling you to say it, but that's what we say. The first Islamophobic death, okay? And she was killed because she stood up for her religion of Islam. She was told to leave her religion, and she refused, and she was killed because she was a so-called martyr, okay? Now, some of the oldest universities in Islam were founded by women, full stop. And these women were also of African heritage as well. Now, there's a famous university, one of the first universities, is called Al-Qaireen. Pardon my bad pronunciation. Hopefully Sheikh Rashad can pronounce it better than myself. Thank you, sir. And it was founded by a lady from Morocco, North Africa, and she was a daughter of a well-known millionaire, merchant. And when he died, he passed all of his wealth to his daughters. And the daughter, what she done with her money, she built a university. This is one of the first universities in the Islamic world that used to give out paper certificates as degrees. Also, there was a mosque in Andalucia, the builder of the Grand Mosque. The person who founded this mosque was the sister of the lady that founded this mosque. Okay? And her name was Fatima, okay? And this is according to the scholarship work of Harvard University. Now the famous, we always hear about Timbuktu of West Africa. Many people of African, Afro Caribbean heritage who say that they're woke, like to talk about Timbuktu. And Timbuktu was founded by an West African woman called Bint Baktu, and meant mother of a large navel, pardon me, okay? And basically, this is according to the Britannia Encyclopedia. Now, what we don't hear about is that there were many African Muslims who lived in India in the 17th and 18th century. We had Queen Meher Lekta Begum, Queen Yasmin Mahal, Queen Afroz Mahal, and Queen Bamama Mullah, pardon the bad pronunciation. Now, there was a Senegalese French historian by the name of Sylviane Diouf, and she's done extensive research on African women of India. Now, when we say India, we're not just talking about India today. We're talking about India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the whole Indian subcontinent. There was a famous lady who was a famous exorcist. She was an African woman exorcist from East Africa. Her name was Maya Misra. She was from Ethiopia. And some of the high society of India at that time were going through a lot of, witchcraft issues, so-called black magic issues. And they heard the reputation of Sister Maya Misra. And what they done was they paid for her to come to India to protect them from the witchcraft done by certain people. And she's buried today, that's her grave. And she was born in the mid-16th century. And she developed her own big following when she came to India from East Africa to vanquish jinns, basically. There's also an African princess warrior of India too, by the name of Begum Hazrat Mahal. Okay, and this is according to the Hindustan Times and the Indian Express. So it's not the Voice newspaper, and it's not the Ebony newspaper, with all due respect. These are according to Indian publications about African scholars, spiritualists, who were Muslims who lived in India. Now, there's someone they call the last king of India. His name was Sultan Wajid Ali Shah, okay? No, he was not a man who dressed up as a black woman, before you're thinking that. Basically, he had personal bodyguards, and he only insisted on having African women bodyguards, only, okay? And he was called the last king of India. And there's many writings about him, and the Journal of the Faculty of the International and Political Studies of Jagiellonian University have done many writings about him and his African women bodyguards. Now, military warriors, there was a lady called Sister Amina of West Africa, Nigeria, and she lived, when we hear about Muslim women in society, we hear that they're timid, they don't have no position, they don't do nothing, they sit at home, cooking, cleaning, and other duties we won't go into. But there were also military warriors, queens, scholars, and academics. And I done the research with my daughter. So Queen Amina was a very proficient leader in West Africa, Nigeria. And basically she promoted women's empowerment, and she fought against toxic masculinity in society, and she promoted women and womanhood in communities. There's going to be a film made about her, by the way, with a lady called Lupita. Now, You might be looking and thinking, oh my gosh, that woman's not black, she's Bengali. This Bengali sister is I call her my sisterin. Sisterin in Jamaican means a very good friend, okay? Now, basically, Nanny of the Maroons is one of the most famous Jamaican national heroes. The $500 bill is a special bill in Jamaica. As someone who goes to Jamaica very often, yes. So this lady that we see, this Bengali sister here, Dr. Afros, basically she's a university lecturer at the University of West Indies. And she's done extensive research of Nanny of the Maroons. And she has comprehensive proof and evidence that she was a Muslim woman of faith. Now, within Jamaican history, Nanny of the Maroons is very special because she fought against slavery in Jamaica. She freed many slaves. So what we hear about Harriet Tubman, she's like the Harriet Tubman of Jamaica. So she freed many slaves, she liberated many slaves, and she was causing so much disruption to the slave trade in Jamaica. Queen Victoria and the British government, they said, listen, let's make a deal with you. Here's your own land, just leave us alone. And she, after a while with her brother, they made the deal and they had their own land in Jamaica. This land in Jamaica is still there today, and it's a totally separate country in Jamaica today. It's called Maroons land, okay? So, yeah. Scholars and sage, Nana Asma'u of Nigeria. There was a famous scholar called Uthman Danfodio, who was a great reformer in West Africa. His daughter, Nana Asma'u, carried on the tradition. And what was brilliant about Nana Asma'u, she wrote fatwas, yes, she wrote fatwas, saying to the women, if your husband is not looking after you mentally, physically, intellectually, and giving you knowledge, leave him and come to my study circles and then we can learn. So she was a feminist. Am I right saying that, sir? Yeah. Okay, I got a witness. All right. There were many other West African Muslim women scholars. We have Sheikha Hani Fulani, Asma bint Umar Fudi, Maryam Uthman Danfodio. So some of these women were either related to Uthman Danfodio's family, one of them were his grandmothers. So these were scholarly women from West Africa who passed on the tradition of Islam. Sport and activism, okay? So we're not just gonna go scholarly, went spiritualism, now we're gonna do a little sports. Now, as someone who likes to watch basketball now and again, I was shocked to find out that the hijab was banned by the FIBA, the Female International Basketball Association. And what was nice and beautiful to hear was there were basketball players from the UK and America who joined forces to overturn the ban. So we have from America, Sister Bilqis Abdul Qadir, and from the UK, Sister Asma El Badawi. Also, currently, she's running to become a future politician in Chicago, but our dear Sister Amina Matthews, she does a lot of youth and community work in Chicago, a lot of gang intervention work, and she does a lot of work to inspire Muslim women and women in general around Chicago. Activism. We have Sister Marguerite Aziza Hill, and she's a blogger, freelance writer, and she does a lot of work against Islamophobia in communities. Now this sister, I'm honored to say, she used to work with me. And basically, her name is Sister Zakia Hussein Ahmed. She's a very passionate East African, British Somali community worker. And she was what you call a hardcore feminist. Shout out to all the feminists out there, okay? And basically, she was very passionate about her country. And I was honored that she used to work with us for quite a while. And then she got an opportunity to go back to Somalia. And not just to go to Somalia, chill, set up a cafe, she went and joined the police force. And she hates an organization you might have heard called Al-Shabaab so much That's been her mission, because members of Al-Shabaab have killed members of her family, and she's made it her mission to root them out. She's very brave, because I wouldn't go to Somalia with all due respect in this current time. And now she's the highest ranking female officer in Somalia. Our dear sister here, Aisha Bakari Gombe, she's from Nigeria. And basically we hear stories of Boko Haram of West Africa kidnapping women. Our dear sister here, Aisha Bakari Gombe, she was so disappointed of the male apathy and the useless men around, she go and she hunts Boko Haram fighters and she frees the women who's been kept in bondage. Then we have scholars of today. Sister Ustada Isha Prime, she does a lot of community work. She also works with an organization, Women Against Trump. And in the UK, we have Sister Ustada Rakeya. She started her own publishing company. She's from the UK, and she's an educationalist that works between the UK and America. We have a Sister Amina Wadood, a very nice lady. And we have a sister from the UK called Sister Adila Shabazz. She's born in Guyana in the Caribbean and came to live in the UK at a young age. And when she embraced Islam, she made her home a hub for young African and Afro Caribbean Muslim women around London. Dr. Mona Abdi is an academic from the University of Sheffield. And Sister Rashida Hassan, she's now a senior member of the MCB. We have Sister Halimat Shodeh. She's co-founded the Black Muslim Times because she was disappointed with the so-called Muslim media's ignorance of Black Muslims' culture in this country. And then we have filmmakers from the UK. Sister Naima Notley from the UK, London. Sister Nija Basima Mu'min, and Sister Ilra Mansour. Then we have our poetics, sisters who are poets. We have our sister Wasan Shah. Her poetry has been used by, I don't know if any of you heard of this artist. Have any of you heard of someone called Beyonce? Yes, Beyonce used some of her poetry in her music. And then we have our dear sisters called Poetic Pilgrimage. I think it's that sister there in that head wrap, in the green, looking regal. Yes, Poetic Pilgrimage. Then we have the Pearls of Islam. And from New York, America, Don't Tell My Wife, my ex-fiancée sister misunderstood. My wife knows, so it's okay, so I was just joking. Anyway, I could joke about it. Oh my gosh, it's not going live, is it? Okay, that's all right, cool. Then I get in trouble. Yeah, anyway. So we have health advocate, currently in Birmingham, Sister Dr. Aisha Hassan, is doing a lot of work in the communities, trying to encourage more African communities to get involved in health initiatives. And in politics, we have our Sister Ilahan Umar. We have Sister Tanzila from India. Pakistan, pardon me, in Pakistan. So there's Black Pakistanis in politics. And Jeremy Corbyn, don't get me wrong, I believe in all politics, but when Jeremy Corbyn first ran to become leader of the Labour Party, our dear sister Fatima Hassan was an integral part of promoting his ideas to the youth and to the BME communities. And in solidarity, in 1972, when a lovely lady by the name of Angela Davis was going through her trial, this was taken in Somalia in solidarity with Angela Davis. Thank you very much.